13th of February, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua with Rashi, Sisa.
Quite a long one. Yechiel, I can't quite see you. You have to adjust the camera.
Oh, there he is.
Down a little bit, down a bit. Fine. Okay. Meir, as the Kohen, you can start off.
Okay. It says, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. So Hashem said to
spoke to Moshe,
saying. Oh, okay. I see. Okay, Ki tisa et Rosh b'nei Yisrael lifkudehem v'natnu ish kofer nafsho laHashem bifkodotam v'lo yihiyevahem negef bifkod otam. Okay, so Ki tisa. Okay. So let's see. So when you take the census of the children of Israel.
That's interesting. That's your translation that you have there?
Yeah, I would have said when you lift off his head, but
okay.
Or carry his head.
Well, Rashi's going to first of all, ki sisa over here doesn't mean to carry.
Okay.
That's what Rashi's going to first point, which Rashi's making.
Okay, well, I have to admit, I have to use the translation here a bit. Okay, so Lifkudehem, that's according to their count, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Not new. Each man will give a kofar atonement. Oh, for his soul. Okay. To Hashem. Beef code in counting them. And there will be no negef, plague within them, among them, when counting them. Okay, so vahem is among them, huh? Not in.
Right.
Okay, well, I guess that makes sense. Okay, Rashi. So it says ki tisa. So when you take, okay, Lishon Kabbalah Kitargumo. Okay, so the Targum, it's meaning taking.
The Targum translates it as Arei Sekabel Yoschushban B'nei Yisrael.
Oh.
That's what she said, Arei Sekabel. In fact, okay. I don't know when the Torah actually mentions the word to receive. The Torah ever uses the lashon lekabel as an expression for receiving. I don't know. Just 1 second. I'm going to just see if it does a word check.
So it would seem that a better translation here would be when you receive the heads of the children of Israel to count them.
Oh, so where I translated it was, if you wish to obtain the total amount of the Jewish people, of the children of Israel.
That's Kabbalah, obtain?
Well, so yes, so I mean you want to receive it. How do you receive it? You want to obtain it. You want to have that information.
Okay.
Yeah. You never find that lashon in the Torah. In any way into Kabel. In fact, the first time you find that lashon, right, is actually in Megillas Esther. V'lo kibel. Says, "Vatishlach b'godim Rabbi Mordechai l'oseh sakra me'olav, v'lo kibel." I think that's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. There's only one time, and besides Indonesia, which is written in Aramaic, and it's a number of times, the only time you find it in a Hebrew text in the sense of receiving is in Megillas Esther.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Where else do you find the Lashon Kabbalah is, Sisa, you find it also in the Lashon of meaning receiving. There's a passing in Parshas Mishpatim, like Sisa Shema Shov, right? You're not allowed to receive a false report, which Chazal learned as referring to receiving Lashon Hara. Somebody gives you, tells you Lashon Hara, you're not allowed to accept the Lashon Hara. Okay? It's the same idea. It's an expression of receiving, accepting. What I want to say over here, yeah. And Rosh, Rashi actually don't see Rashi mentioning it over here. But elsewhere, Rashi says, Rosh means the total amount.
Oh.
So it means when you want to obtain the total amount, where else do we have? Nosayas Rosh B'nei Gershon Kamheim. Su'es Rosh. You find this phrase many times in the Torah. Sa es Rosh B'nei Gershon Kamheim. Nosa es Rosh B'nei Gershon Kamheim. Sa es Rosh Al Koach in Parshas Matos. Kind of many times. So the term is Sa es Rosh means to receive the total amount, meaning you want to obtain the total amount by counting. So that's what we're talking about, referring to over here. So that means the same thing. Ki Sisa is Rosh B'nei Yisrael. What you want to find out, that's what Rashi is going to explain. Look at the Rashi here.
Okay, Kasher Tachpots, the Kapel Zechum Yinam. So, and if you desire to take the sum of the amount, the number, okay, their number, Ladat Kamahem, to know how many there are. Al team name Legulgoles. Do not count them Legulgoles by a simple head count. Oh, by a simple head count. Ella yitnu kol echad machatzit hashekel. But each one should give a half a shekel. V'timneh et hashkalim, and then you will count the shekalim. And the teda minyanam, and you will know their number.
Right. Okay. Now let's do the next Rashi.
Okay.
And then we'll try and exactly go back to the Pasuk and read it again. As it comes out very interesting. Okay.
Okay. Below Yehi Yevahem Negev, and there will not be a plague within them, among them. Okay. Shehaminyan Sholet Bo Ayin Hara. The Ayin Hara, I guess, the bad eye, okay, will rule over them?
Yeah. That when we count things, right, then the should we say the evil eye has a power to have an effect. Can have
Uh-huh.
an
Okay. Kimo shematzinu b'yemei David. Oh, it's as we found in the days of David. Oh, what do? Oh, according to this, yeah, he had his general Yoav take a census, and then thousands of people died right after. Wow.
Right. There was a whole discussion. How could David HaMelech make such a basic mistake?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beferish in the Torah.
But it seems to be a contradiction because the evil eye is usually, is my understanding is it's not coming from Hashem. The evil eye is coming from other people.
Correct.
So what does it mean to say the evil eye can have the effect and a pestilence can come upon them? The pestilence is from Hashem.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows certain koichas, certain powers to rule in what HaKadosh Baruch Hu created as nature.
So you're saying the evil eye was actually coming from people?
Yeah, it comes, yes.
David?
The evil eye comes from people, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave this certain koyach, what's called it, it's something, I would call it like maybe spiritual radiation, kind of.
Wow.
That is such a power. Somebody told me there was, he lived once in a certain place. It was a smaller issue, but there was a smaller community. But there was this certain lady who was known to have, whether she could control it or not, I don't know. I didn't know that she was known to have a power of Ayin Hara. And he told me a story. He himself was present, that she came into a simcha or something. Their family's having a simcha, and just shortly after she came in, the whole table just collapsed, just like that.
Wow.
I know I've never actually known people having such a such a powerful thing, but there is Ayin Hara is a real force. It's not just something metaphoric. Yeah, it is a real force. And in fact, Ad Kedei Kach, the Gemara says that 99% of people, 1% of people die from purely natural causes, and the other 99% die from Ayin Hara, which I understood to mean that Ayin Hara contributed towards their death. Doesn't mean it was the entire reason for their death, but the Ayin Hara contributed towards their death. But yeah, so that's why I translated it over here. For counting people is subject to the influence of the evil eye and causes them to be affected by pestilence. Okay, it means it's not the necessarily the direct result of Ayin Hara that's bringing the pestilence. It's a catalyst, it's a cause that will bring them pestilence. Okay. Yeah. Now, so that once we got this thing. So basically Rashi says, Shaminian Sholeh b'Ayin Hara. Whereas when we're counting the people, one has to be extra careful because one's opening oneself up to Ayin Hara. Now, what is the idea? When does Ayin Hara have an effect and when it does not? The idea is, it seems like from the Gemaras which discuss Ayin Hara, they are kind of a manifestation of jealousy between people. Whereas a person feels a certain feeling of jealousness, right? Jealousy towards somebody else, then his ayin hara may have an effect on the other person. Okay? Now, when one counts the people, this is a fact. Calls man, they're not being counted. Nobody really puts in any thought or my personal mind to the fact that the actual individuals, the total number of individuals, how many they are, and say how fantastic the number is. But when you go ahead and count them, that already says, wow, look how many people, individuals, how many people make up the Jewish nation. That's a tremendous amount. Wow. And when you have such a thing, a tremendous bracha, right, that may arouse in somebody a feeling of jealousy. So therefore, at that point, we have to lower the concentration on each individual number and rather concentrate that they are all one united nation. And this is the idea of the Machzis HaShekel, that when each one, it's very interesting, we're going to see, Rashi, the next pasuk says, next pasuk, Rashi, you see in the next pasuk, this Machzis HaShekel was in a way already an existing coin. Where Rashi doesn't say it over here, the pasuk doesn't say it here, Beka lagugoles. It says it in the beginning of Parshas Pekudei. Go to Parshas Pekudei. Where is it? Yeah, here. Pasuk, chapter 38, Pasuk 26. Bekala gugoles Machzis HaShekel b'shekel hakedush l'chol oivei alav pekudim mבין 20 שנה ומעלה 613,505. Okay, so the Beka was already an existing coin, yet, we're going to see in the next one, Rashi says, Ze Yiknu, that Kosh Baruch Hu showed Moshe Rabbeinu a virtual coin, right, a coin of fire, which means something like a virtual coin, showing him what coin each person is supposed to give. And this coin will be called half a shekel, which is strange. Why just say each person should give a beka, which is the weight of this coin? Why all of a sudden create a new coin and call it half a shekel? So Mefarshim explained that the idea was that when counting everybody, all the individuals, each person shows that he's not a full. He's not an independent, full independent individual. He's half. There was importance that each of the coins which they would give, each of the Klal Yisrael would give half a shekel to show that each individual is not complete without at least one other individual of Klal Yisrael, more symbolically without the entire Klal Yisrael. That each person is a part of a large unit of called the Jewish nation, called the Jewish people, and Mamela don't concentrate on each person's individual status, but rather concentrate on the Jewish people as a whole, which may be made up of a certain number of participants, certain number of individuals, but the concentration should be taken off the concentration on the individual, but rather concentrating on the Jewish people as a combined unit of as one nation. So that was the idea of the thing. So we read the pasuk again. Sisa Rosh Bnei Yisrael, when you wish to receive the total amount of Bnei Yisrael of Kudehem according to their counted ones, V'nosnu ish kovenash, each person among them shall give kofen nafsho, a atonement for his soul, la Hashem, to Hashem, bifkoi doisom, right? When they are being counted. In other words, when they're being counted, each person has to give an atonement for his soul. How so? as we're going to see in the next passage, by each person giving a half a shekel, then the person shows, listen, don't just look at me as an individual, look at me as part of a unit. And therefore, I should be judged not as my individual, my own personal merits or chas v'shalom, how do you say it, choivos, my own sins, right? But judge me as a whole among the people. And as a result of that, there won't be a plague when they're being counted. Because we're going to take the edge of each individual's person's status as being an individual, and we're going to consider each individual as part of the total unit of Klal Yisrael, as each one is an essential part of the unit. And this way, the concentration will be on the unit of Klal Yisrael rather than each individual person. Okay? Weiter. Pasuk Yud Gimel. Lou.
Ze yitenu kol haover al hapekudim machatzis hashekel b'shekel hakodesh esrim geira hashekel machatzis hashekel teruma lashem. Okay, so this is what you shall give.
They shall give.
They shall give. Everyone who passes among the counted,
Right.
half of a shekel by the holy shekel. The shekel is 20 gerah.
Okay.
Half of a shekel as a portion to Hashem.
As a contribution, as a selected contribution to Hashem. That's how I translated it. Check.
That's how you translated truma, as a selected
contribution. Yeah.
Okay, so 13, ze yitnu. This is what they shall give. Hera lo b'min mat shel eish. He showed him, that is, God showed Moshe.
Kamin, not base.
Like a type of mizbeah, of coin of fire.
That's why I said, I mean, in today's terms, you could call it a virtual coin. It wasn't a real coin. It's a coin made of fire. It's kaviyachol. That means I'm just maybe to put it in more in understandable terms. Right? It means Akash Baruch Hu, there was like it wasn't a real coin, but Akash Baruch Hu showed Moshe a picture of, or even a 3D model of what this coin would look like.
Umishkala machatzis hashekel, and the weight was half of a shekel. Va'amar lo kizeh yitnu, and he told him, like this you will give. Or they will give. Like this they should give.
Right. So he told him exactly. Kosh Baruch Hu showed Moshe a picture of this coin, a virtual model of this coin, and he said, "This is what they shall give."
So what's the necessity of this picture? I mean, if the coin existed then
Oh, so that's the point. 1 second.
saying everybody will give a quarter. Here's a picture of a quarter. Well, I know what a
Right,
quarter
exactly.
is,
So
but-
the question is, so it's obviously it seems that Moshe Rabbeinu would not have had Kodesh Baruch Hu not shown him what coin to give and what this coin looks like. Moshe Rabbeinu would have not known it on his own. Even though the text does say later that it is the weight is Becca. And L'chayah Becca was a coin. I'm not sure if I'm mistaken. But it was definitely a certain unit of weight called a Becca. So fine, make that Becca unit of weight, make it into a coin. It's the big deal. It doesn't seem to say that was any particular kind of inscription on the coin that would say that made it unique. So I'm not sure what's shot over here, why it had to be that he had to be shown it. Later on, Rashi is going to say by the menorah, the beginning of Parshas Baloischa, and she said that Moshe Rabbeinu had difficulty in picturing, especially by the fact that it had to be made of one kikar of gold, which is all the parts of the menorah had to be made, branches had to be made from one piece, and the end weight of it was one kikar. Now, you would need a pretty sophisticated computer program to work that out. You know, how much gold would be needed to end up one kikar, what size of a menorah you're going to end up with. And Moshe Rabbeinu had to work it out. And he said, I can't work it out. So Kodesh Baruch Hu said, "V'zeh ma'aseh menorah." He showed him exactly the dimensions of the menorah which he was supposed to make. And he showed him a virtual picture of there, v'zeh ma'aseh. So I can understand he had difficulty. But Rashi says, Moshe Rabbeinu had difficulty understanding it without a picture. So Kodesh Baruch Hu showed it to him. But over here, as you're correctly asking, what was the necessity for have to have Moshe Rabbeinu? The Kodesh Baruch Hu had to show Moshe Rabbeinu the picture of this coin. I don't know. Okay.
Over al hapidkudim, who passes among the counted. Derech hamonim.
Rashi is bothered by the expression ha'oiver, passes. What's passing got to do with everything? So Rashi says, derech hamonim
ma'avirin es haminin ze achar ze. It was the practice of those who count to have those who are counted pass before them one after the other.
It's kind of through a turnstile. And one would pass them one by one.
Right. V'chein kol asher ya'avor tachas hashavet.
Hashavet. Hashavet, that actually says the end of the puzzle.
Hashavet. So too, each that will pass beneath the rod.
Okay.
Or the turnstile.
Whatever. No, actually, that means the shevet, because sheep, the first two that Chazal say that you would pass the sheep through a.
Right, but a turnstile is made of a rod.
Yeah, but in this particular case, Chazal say more simple. There was like an opening, just enough for one sheep to go by at a time, and then after he would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, and then take a stick and with a red mark he would mark the 10th one, and so on. So Tachas Hashem means it was like pass under the. You have a rod there, and the sheep, because it was a little bit lower than their height, would have to bend down slightly to get through under the rod.
It was like that song, The Limbo Game.
Sorry, you missed me there.
There was a song in the 60s where it was called Limbo. You had to be limber. And what you do is they put a rod in the middle of the dance floor, and then you'd have to hop under the rod by bending your body back like this.
I see.
It lowered the rod lower and lower and lower until the last person was able to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
So they must have got that from the Torah.
Yep, I guess so.
V'chein ta'avor na hatzon al yedei moneh. And so too, the flocks will pass by the counter.
Right. By way of the counter. How you do money? Through the counter. Okay. Again, he uses the Lashon Ha'avara.
The counter being a human being in this case.
Yeah, in other words, the human being leads the sheep through the gate to be able to count them. Okay.
Machatzis hashekel b'shekel hakodesh. Half of a shekel by the holy shekel. B'mishkal hashekel shekatzevti Kitzavti lecha, the weight of the shekel that I have set before you. Lishkol bo shik lei hekdesh, against which to weigh the shkalim of hektish.
Which means, as Rashi is going to say, there's certain things which the Torah prescribes has to be a certain amount of shkalim. For instance, somebody who abducts a girl, right? So he's got to give her 50 shekels. He's got to give the father of the girl, or the girl herself, depending what age she is, he's got to give her 50 shekel, 50 of the, and Chazal say, b'shekel hakodesh, 50 silver holy shekels. So therefore you see that that's a certain amount which you have to give. So then that the Torah says that's got to be b'shekel hakodesh. So this, when each person gave his contribution over here, it had to be half of a shekel, half of that kind of shekel.
Kigon shekalim ha'amurin b'farashas arachin usadei achuzah. Okay, so for example, the shekel or the shkalim that are mentioned in the pasuk of Arachin in Arachin in the Gemara,
No, it's actually in the Parshas
a field that's been inherited.
Right. So in the end of Parshas B'chukoisai, the Torah says that somebody says Erki Olai or Erach Ploini Olai. The Torah says now, it doesn't mean the regular saleable value. It means the prescribed fixed value of the person by Erech, the person's Erech. And there the Torah says that, Marshall, somebody, a man between the ages of 20 and 60, so his worth is 50 shekel. A woman at that age is worth 30 shekel. And then if they're between 5 and 20, so the price changes. And if they're over 60, also again it's less. And the child between the month old and the age of 5 is even less than that. Okay, so the Torah prescribes a certain, and that is given b'shekel hakodesh. And similarly, stei achuza, somebody who sanctifies a field which he has by inheritance, then there's a prescribed value of if he's makdish the field, he consecrates his field to give it to hektish. There's also a prescribed amount how much he's got to give to hektish. And then again, according to if it's the size of a base core, then he's got to give 50 shekels. He's got to redeem it for 50 shekel. That's so. There's other mitzvahs, the other areas where the shekel hakodesh, that coinage, the shekel hakodesh, is required, and we're saying half of such a shekel, of a holy type of shekel, half of such a holy type of shekel is what each individual must give away. That's what the pasuk says. Okay, another thing, time to finish. Just let's go thing. Esrim Geira shekel.
Shekel is 20 gera.
Sorry?
The shekel is 20 gera.
Right. Now Pirish L'chol Kamahu. Now the Torah tells you how much is each this weight of a shekel, which the Torah says is a holy type of shekel. What is its weight? It's Esrim Geira. Okay? So maybe we'll continue this then as Hashem tomorrow. Okay, we got up to Geira. Okay? Very good.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, Yesh Koyach. Very good. Have a good day.
You too.